Others, welcome to Module 4, where we'll be discussing contracts. Specifically, we'll be discussing a breach of a contract. Some key points here is understand what is a breach of contract. In a nutshell, it is between two parties. We have an agreement. I fail to meet the agreement. You can sue me for not meeting that agreement. So, a contractor not showing up at your house and finishing a project. Obviously, it's on a specific time frame, that's a breach of our contract. So look at stuff like that. And even in the big business world, there's breach of contracts happening all the time, and that can be a problem between two parties. We enter contracts every day, buying a vehicle, buying a house, getting a credit card, getting a bank account. Everything has a contract. You must meet certain terms and conditions in the contract that the company wants. So take a look at that. I've got stuff here loaded up on the site. Like there's an example of a breach of contract that I discussed there. Talk about the damages that could be caused by a breach of contract because the plaintiff was not giving the product or the goods that were promised in the contract, so the defense is going to be held accountable, or vice versa. Depends on how good of a lawyer you have to discuss and fight for you. So that's an interesting one. Running over to going over to the assignment. This is where you're going to actually write a contract. Not talk about a contract, not write an essay about a contract, but write a contract. And you have two options here. You have a professional contract formation, and this one is on so you're a family-owned small business, and you want to offer your employees tuition reimbursement or education support, some contract or some incentive to support your employees. So first you want to distinguish right off the bat what kind of contract. Is it bilateral or unilateral contract, and include all 6 elements of a contract. You can go online, download a sample contract and use that, or if you've been in or are in a company that has a contract, you can use that as a template and kind of copy off of that. Develop the factors of time. You have 1 year to complete your associate's degree, which would be the goals to complete the associate's degree or any other continuing education credits needed for that particular job. Potential clauses. You can't do homework during working hours. You can't leave early to go to class, stuff like that. Assignments that could potentially come out of that. We're going to have since we're going to pay for your education, we want 2 years of dedicated employment and restrictions to the contract. And keep in mind, there is a IRS connection here. If you pay any more than $5,250 to the employee, that's considered taxable income. So when you do tuition and reimbursement, kind of keep an eyeball on that, because you can get them into paying more taxes as well as yourself. Use define legal concepts, incorporate a legal terminology from the textbook or appropriate and relevant. Use academic, legitimate news sources, so on and so forth. That's all your APA stuff, your formatting. Make sure you use APA in your contract. I know this is not real world contract where you would have APA references, but in academics we want you to have that laid out in that particular format. And finally, of course, you want to identify any ethical issues that exist in an alleged contract result. And one big thing is you cannot give a contract to a 16-year-old. Obviously, you have to be 18 years old to enter into a contract. So that would be this could be one ethical issue. So have fun with that. Put it together, clear cut, dry. Be specific in the contract. Be pointed what you want this employee to realize, and what you're paying for, what you're providing, how long it's going to provide, and what's the alternative resolutions to any disputes you have with the contract. Obviously, a small company, you'd use ADR to try and settle it. Worst case, if they really take advantage of the contract and violate, you can go further out. And a lot of common things in these contracts is with termination before the tuition assistance has been reimbursed, or they terminate from the employment you can also ask for your money back, and you can add that part of your terms and conditions of your contract. Option number two, contract law. This is a discussion about a parking space. There's one parking space, there's two people feel entitled to it. So you're going to be presenting to the manager there of company XYZ or whatever it is, in this case XYZ Manufacturing, the purpose of the contract. So you can write them an email or a letter explaining the contract. Then you go in and then you write out the contract. You first up, present a summary of the contract in the form of an email communication cover letter to the manager for approval. Yes, they're going to they're going to agree to it. So format the contract, present your contract, include the factor time, task, goals, potential clauses, assignments, and restrictions. It sounds easy. Okay, parking spot A. Ken and Tom want to go for this parking spot. Ken will have Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Tom will have Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, or however you want to work it out, and every other holiday. So it's almost like having child custody. You're trying to share the parking spot between two people, but not as complicated. So present your contract, look at time of task, make it a legitimate good contract, who, what, where, when, why, and how this contract will fall out. And of course, if one of the disputes in there, if you have a dispute resolution in there, how are you going to settle it? The manager going to oversee it, and triangulate the issue between you and the other employee to figure out how to settle it, or is it going to be somebody else, or just give that some thought. Obviously, use legal defined concepts, incorporating terminology, use academic legitimate resources, not Wikipedia. So, and of course, 2 to 3 pages long, and of course, APA is the format of CSU, so use it. I know it could be a pain, but in the early stages, learn how to use the APA. You'll get it after time. And I've been using it for years, and I still have to go back to the book and look it up and make sure I know what I'm talking about. Again, if you have any questions on this particular contract assignment, please do not hesitate. Call, or I should say email, text, call first, in that specific order, and ask questions. If you don't ask questions, I just assume you're fine, and we'll move forward. Have a good time with this contract, putting it together, and we'll see you back in class. Thank you.